Good morning and greetings from the deep south in the southern hemisphere. I was gifted a bunch of these tiny little succulents yesterday, and this is one that I've always loved, and I haven't had one of these for a very long time. So I'm very happy to invite it into my little family of succulents that I have here. And it just seemed appropriate to also invite it into this space, this energy check space. So let's see what we've got going on in this moment right now as I sit here and as you find this video. All right, we're not messing around. We are off to quite a start with the Seven of Swords. So let's have a look. We can see in this card the full moon. Let me just also make a note, just realized, made the connection, that today and tomorrow is actually going to be the Gemini full moon. And so that's the first resonance with that. And the second is Gemini is, of course, the first air sign, I believe, and swords have to do with air element, communication, mental activity, thought processes, perspectives, and narratives that we tell ourselves, and so on. So I'm very pleased with the kind of synchronicity of us lining up today with this full moon, depending on where you are in the world. What we also see in this card is this, there are a number of ravens, 3 to be precise, and this character is, I think to say got a sneaky pose is not overstating the case. Hoodie, can't see their face, a pretty serious looking dagger in their hand, and there's a city in the background. So this is someone who, I think the first thing that comes up is someone who is operating outside of social norms, and there is a kind of skullduggery going on. It's a wonderful old-fashioned word. I don't know where that surfaced from. The thing about the Seven of Swords, it can be interpreted in various ways. It's a 7, so it's about conflict and about things aren't clear with the sevens. If you think of the 7 of Cups, there is this kind of indecisiveness, lots of options, emotional slipperiness. And the 7 of Pentacles, there's also a kind of uncertainty about it because it's a waiting period, waiting for the harvest to come. And the 7 of Wands is a defensiveness. So let's see what this card wants to tell us about energy coming into the day with us today. It's obviously not a great energy. If we are ever compelled to behave in a way that we end up looking like this, it's not coming from a great place. It's not coming from a space of feeling grounded, of coming from a heart-centered place. It's not using your words wisely and kindly, and so on. The Magician. So this is kind of, let's say, present energy, as always, for this series of readings that I'm doing, this is a very short time frame. So whenever you find it, it's about the day or two around you. The Magician, of course, is a major arcana. It's a number 1. It comes after 0, which is the Fool, and it comes after the Fool having taken either what might be considered an utterly foolish leap off the edge of a cliff or a really imaginative and courageous one. The Magician, importantly, is pre-manifest on the earthly planes, and what is always said about the Magician, and is thus still very tied into the infinite cosmic universe. Like most magician cards, this one has the infinity sign depicted on their hoodie. Also, a little maybe more subtly depicted here, is the Magician has, this is quite a magical power emanating from the palms of their hands, but have all the 4 elements: air, water, earth, and fire. And it's pre-manifestation. So again, being a major arcana, this suggests that for today anyhow, at the center of our attention, in our conscious, subconscious aspect, which these 3 cards at the top will represent, has something to do with starting some kind of new, deep, energetic cycle with a lot of power in our hands. So let's see where this goes, bearing in mind that we're coming into that energy with not a very positive vibe. And the Magician, being pre-manifest, is by definition amoral. So let's see. All right. Well, thank goodness the Queen of Wands is here. Well, we'll see if that's a thank goodness. First off, just, that's what the thank goodness is about, is this character is also very powerful. Look at that. Also, energy emanating from her hands. And being a Wands card, first of all, it's all about those things: energy, drive, passion. And that, much like the Magician, can go either way. This is a queen that has fully explored her deepest passions, both those within the realm of morality and those outside. There are no boundaries for this queen. Her passion and her fire is far too powerful. There's a witchiness. The black cat over here. And again, white and black magic, right? So the first observation is that there's very powerful initiatory energy here, even though we're in a Gemini full moon, which could not be less fiery. It's a very airy, flitty, curious, quick-witted, fast-moving, mental energy is Gemini. And full moons are usually, generally, equated with culminations, but culminations always contain the seeds of beginnings. I do really like the way that the Queen of Wands appears to be not only birthing something Ace of Wands-ish from her hand, but her body language is gesturing towards whatever this is. And I felt a sense of relief when she came out in the cards. But she's kind of gesturing towards these characters, and her body language is very open, and it's as if she's making her power and her passion available should it be wanted. So, following the format of these energy readings, I'm now going to pull from the Wild Unknown Tarot and see what the kind of shadow aspects of these different cards are, and see how we can put down another layer of meaning around today's energy. This time, the aspects that are perhaps unconscious, subconscious, and as I said that, the moon dropped out. There's another card behind it. I don't know yet what it is, but the moon is another major arcana, and it is traditionally associated with everything that is subconscious, unconscious, and invisible. I'm not sure I even finished my sentence before it dropped out. If you are familiar with the original Rider-Waite tarot, the scene here usually has like a watery lake of some kind in the darkness of the night, and there's sort of these animals. I think there might be a wolf and a lobster, I think, but they're in this sort of dark silhouette, and they're emerging, out of this primordial goo, aka our subconscious. So let's put that down under the Seven of Swords and see, oh boy, okay, the Tower, which, by the way, next to the Fool is my favorite card in the deck. I'm not afraid of this energy. I love it. And so that's how I read it. Okay, let's just sit with this for a second. I actually want to get the third card. With all these intense major arcanas here, and I mean intense, these are some of the deepest among the major arcanas, I need this third card. And here it is. The Five of Pentacles. Alright, let's just look at this row over here. So as I've said, the moon, which is the number 18, so it's quite far along actually from where the magician starts. So let's start there. In our conscious minds and awareness, we're here making our concoctions, doing our magic. I'm a little uncomfortable about what's informing the spell making that we're doing over here. And I don't generally talk about spell making, but I kind of got into this storyline here with the good witch and the bad witch. So this feels very much like we're in this manifesting energy that we're conscious of. And for me and for you, that can be taking place in any realm of life. But while we're in this creative, manifesting space spiritually, in our consciousness, there's something quite dark and unknown lurking below the surface. And again, one doesn't necessarily need to interpret the moon as dark, but it's sitting underneath the Seven of Swords. This makes me think about the lies that we tell ourselves. sometimes we want something, but our motives might be impure. Sometimes we're just not aware of what's actually driving us, so it might really be quite unconscious. The moon for me often is about fear of the unknown. That is also something, if we're trying to manifest something in the material world, in our conscious space, the fear of the unknown can make us do it in unsavory ways, in less than honest ways. This can also be a kind of self-sabotaging energy. And I'm thinking very much about self at the moment, because I'm going to come to this card, because this does have something to do with community. But this is otherwise quite a self-centered sort of set of cards. So I'm going to hold the thought of self-sabotage for the moment. And when we are self-sabotaging, unless we've done therapy and we're quite self-aware, even when we have, we may not be aware that we're self-sabotaging, or that we are following some old ingrained narrative. So let's hold those thoughts. Now, the Tower. You, in this depiction, it's a huge big old tree that's been struck by lightning and is on fire, and usually the tower is depicted as an actual tower that's on fire, and you see people sort of jumping out of the tower to escape the fire, I guess. And it's this idea of everything breaking down, destruction. And it talks really beautifully, actually, to these cards, because to the extent that this is about, for instance, the lies that we tell ourselves, the delusions that we may live under, the ways in which we self-sabotage, the Tower is the thing that can just come and absolutely smash all of that open, burn it to the ground, which obviously can be very painful. But life is painful at times, inevitably and invariably. So if we can set that aside, we can see the gift that emerges. I live in a part of the world where we have some very unique vegetation, that some of the seeds from the plants in this species of vegetation can lie underground for 20 years without germinating. And during summer, which is our dry season, we have a lot of fires, wildfires, and the mountains will just burn for days and weeks sometimes. And when the fire has passed, the earth is scorched black, and then the most amazing thing happens. I have read over the years of plants being discovered that hadn't been seen for 20 years or 50 years by botanists. And basically the heat of the fire is just part of the natural cycle of this particular vegetation type. And it is the thing that actually sparks the seed. And it's because it has burnt everything to the ground. So to the extent that in our conscious minds there is the seed of an idea, the seed of a new love, the seed of a new project, the seed of a set of new habits, that might be a metaphor that resonates with you. It always resonates with me. As I indicated yesterday, I have started a 30-day kind of meditation, of which these daily energy check-ins are part of that meditation. And so that's my seed. And I think something, to go back to the Gemini full moon, which will be tonight here, is look how it's shining a light. I mean, that is the beauty, right? So compared to the moon that is depicted in the moon card here, this is a full moon that sheds light on all of that we can't see. So I'm feeling this much more strongly now, that there's very much this energy of initiating quite a significant new big major cycle. And the energy for today is pretty powerful from the point of view of both the light of the full moon and the tremendous effects of the tower to help us work our magic with full wide eyes open. Kind of an honesty, a self-honesty. Okay. I now want to look at this Five of Pentacles. Again, in the traditional Rider-Waite, this is usually depicted as two people who look like they've been outside. I think they're in the snow, and their clothes are very sort of ragged and torn. I think they're children, actually, or very young. And behind them is this beautiful stained glass window, and it's emanating all this warmth. And there's this sense of community inside that building. And these two are outside in the cold. This depiction is this rose that appears to be at the end of its life cycle, but it may be that it just hasn't been getting water and sun and the things that it needs to thrive, and it might be dying early. It's impossible to know, but it's dropping its petals and it's hanging its head in a way that just evokes sadness, right? So it's a Pentacles card. This is about our material domain. So very much unlike a lot of what's going on. This is about our sense of security, but perhaps more belonging in our community. And thinking of this kind of ecologically, we can't survive individually. We need community. All ecosystems are interdependent. All the elements of an ecosystem depend on one another. If one part of the system is unhealthy or, hasn't been tended and nurtured, it's bad for the whole. And these two cards feel that energy. This is someone who doesn't have community. There is that city in the background. Can you feel the resonance between these two cards? This person is resorting to their lowest self in the... Sorry about that. There was an interruption in the broadcasting as my little microphone ran out of juice. So I was just making the point that this person is trying to make their way on their own and lacking the support and interaction of community. We've spoken quite a bit about this Tower and the Magician, but just to look at them for a moment together. Perhaps part of the contemplation for today is quite literally what needs to be deconstructed, broken down, and cleansed in order for us to conjure and create. And I want to say co-create in the spirit of this ecological idea of community. And just on a very sort of silly note, I have a principle of when I buy a new item of clothing, say, for example, I give an item of clothing away. So I always have more or less the same amount of clothes. It's a very ridiculous example, but it just also helps to show that this, because this is just a daily check-in reading for this moment, that it might, despite the drama of these cards, be that you need to clear out space in order to make space for something new to come in. That might be the only task for today, is to figure out what to throw away in your wardrobe. So following the sort of approach that I started yesterday, this is kind of going a little bit into the future. And as we've already been introduced to this Queen of Wands, we see her here. What is the kind of unconscious, subconscious, not visible aspects or shadow side of this Queen of Wands energy? Because we've already established that she, just brings with her all this passion and drive and energy and ambition and beautiful fire. First of all, I really feel like she is just here as an inspiration to tap into that side of ourselves that is actually very warm, and despite our power, there's a reminder that there's no need to be forceful, overbearing, dominating, domineering, pushy, demanding. These two energies could not be more different from one another. And I think this feels like the mature adult within us needing to guide and motivate some broken aspect of ourselves. And there's this invitation to be loud and proud and not hide in the shadows. This queen makes no apologies. And honestly, if ever I'm feeling like this is who I want around. This queen has as much community as she possibly wants. There's no fear in this queen about community, about connection, about that part of ourselves, the internal flame that connects with the internal flames of others. This is so much about scarcity thinking. This is not about scarcity thinking at all. I mean, just look at her throne. It's made of some gorgeous, plush, luxurious fabric. She is that beautiful stained glass window. think this is one of those readings that I could sit here for a long time and just find layer upon layer upon layer. And I hope that it will linger with you as the day goes on. So let's get a little oracle card, not so little, just to round the reading out and just see if there's some other, dimension. Okay, I'm going to move those cards. Ooh, I like the purple. I like the purple a lot. Let's have a look. Master teacher. Purpose. Somebody going on their way, sense of direction, something they're trying to do and achieve. For each of us, I don't know, we'll all have some idea. For some it might be God, the universe, universal energy, our ancestors, whoever that is for us, the master teacher, our higher selves. I like the yellow arrow. It's almost like the yellow brick road, although that has a whole other set of symbolisms, doesn't it? And this character has their bag. It's a bit briefcasey looking. So yeah, there's definitely a mission on the go here. So there's definitely this idea of, when we finally realize our purpose, and I don't necessarily mean in the big scheme of life, because that's very big picture stuff, but just for now, it might be, what can we do this end of year to contribute to community, to the less fortunate? What sense of purpose do we have for healing of relationships, maybe with family? Those are people we often see at this time of year. Or we may have purpose in our material world around a sense of new direction for work or activism. But this is talking about alignment. We're on our way. We can see that. The big cycle has started with the magician. We are on our way. And I think a big lesson here, or at least just a pointer, is this idea of alignment and aligning with our proper paths. This is not being aligned. This is very much not in alignment with ourselves or our communities or our purpose. This is not going to bring us to a higher understanding or to a higher version of ourselves. The other aspect of it is kind of like dedication and faith. So much is unknown, actually, about this pathway that we're on, this purpose. It's just pointing in a direction. And with that unknownness is potentially a lot of fear and self-doubt and so on. We need to be dedicated. We need to be reliable. This is not reliable. This is about throwing your heart and soul into whatever you're doing. 100% of yourself, all your passion, all your energy. But in order to do that, there is so much, or maybe not so much, again, I have to remind myself, This is just for today. What is it today that needs to be cleaned out, acknowledged even just the acknowledgement? But if we can let it clear out, and if we can, maybe under the full moon tonight, it might be really worth sitting and contemplating, firstly, what is our purpose, just for now, for today, this week maybe, and where are our fears? What do we fear about the unknown of where this is going to take us? Where might we be self-sabotaging? There's so much food for thought here. There is the potential of very deep feelings to feel around this. I know that today I'm going to find something small about that has to do with my sense of purpose right now in this moment, and to contemplate some of these deep and beautiful messages that have kind of come up to the surface through these cards. And I'm going to make a call to a friend that reminds me a lot of this Queen of Wands. Talking to her is always something that is invigorating, and she does have a way of cutting through the BS and getting me to, cut away all the dead wood, shine light on things that I don't necessarily feel like looking at, but also gives me the courage. You know, when you've got somebody, again, back to that idea of community, when you've got someone who's got your back, who believes in you no matter what, who loves you no matter what, I mean, wow, it's a huge gift. And to not forget to draw on it, because it's what helps us move through these phases, which we need to go through. It's really important to experience these and not deny ourselves the immersion and the experience of them. But it's always lovely to be warmly and with a great sense of fun and adventure, reminded not to dwell too long. I'll say it again, it's just for today. And with that, I greet you, and I'll see you tomorrow.